My best friend's sister is accusing me of getting her pregnant even though I'm a virgin, but when they see the baby isn't mine because I'm not Asian, I'll fight with everything I have. My best friend's sister is telling everyone she's pregnant with my child. I'm talking about my parents, her brother, and I never even touched this girl. She has a huge crush on me and is angry because I'm not interested in her, so she's making up this lie. Well, when the baby is born in a few months, I'll take a DNA test and prove that everyone is wrong. As for my parents, they've been turning their backs on me for 3 days. The only time they talk to me is when they want to yell at me, and honestly, they're demanding that I admit to what I'm being accused of, but I refuse to do so because, well, I didn't do it. I'm sure some of you reading this are thinking, what the heck? Well, let me back up a bit. I've always been a good son. As an only child, my parents spoiled me and always made me feel loved. They never had to worry about me getting into trouble because I was always a good kid, got good grades, and never did anything wrong. I didn't get into fights or anything like that. As I said, I was a good kid, and even when I became a teenager, I didn't rebel or disrespect my parents. Honestly, I was as respectful as I had always been. That's why when they didn't believe me after I was accused of something so horrible, I was in shock. I had never given them a reason not to believe me. Since I started school, I had always worked hard to get good grades. My parents earn good money and can afford to pay for my college tuition, but they said they wouldn't make that investment in my education unless I held up my end of the bargain and got good grades. I took it seriously because even with scholarships, I was going to need them to cover some of the costs. Since I spent so much time studying, I didn't hang out with many people or make friends easily. Luckily, I had a best friend who was like me, Caleb. Caleb lived about 2 blocks away from where I grew up. We met when his family moved to town when he was around 8 years old. Since then, we were best friends. We were inseparable. And at school, we were always together. Outside of school, we'd go to each other's houses, or I'd stay at his place, and he'd stay at mine. It was like we became part of each other's families. Caleb was the best friend anyone could ask for. He also had a sister, Sabrina, who is 2 years younger than us. She's 16, and since we're graduating in less than 3 months, we didn't spend much time with her, but she's a nice girl. She's never been rude to me, and there were times I thought she liked me, but I always ignored it because I don't see her that way. To me, she's like a little sister. It would be weird to think of her any other way, and I just didn't think of her romantically. Besides, I generally didn't give much importance to romance. School was the most important thing to me. That was what would ensure I had a good career. It's not that I didn't have crushes or anything like that. Of course I did. But I didn't give them much thought. They never went beyond that. I think in my whole life, I've only gone on a few dates. My longest relationship lasted about a month. That was in my junior year with a girl in my math class. We flirted with each other, but it fizzled out after a couple of months. Thinking back, I remember Sabrina acting a little jealous during that time. Whenever I mentioned I was going out with Kyla, she'd give us dirty looks and mutter something under her breath. But whenever I asked her about it, she just shrugged and said it didn't matter. I guess it was normal for her to have a crush on me. It's normal to have a crush on your brother's best friend. It had never happened to me, but as I said, I'd seen it happen to other people at school. What Sabrina felt for me didn't matter. I saw her as a sister, and if she ever confessed her feelings, I had decided I'd turn her down respectfully. It just wasn't a relationship I wanted, but she never said anything. She even started dating boys, something Caleb teased her about in a playful way, like an older brother would. He said he had the right to joke with her. I'm an only child, so I don't know how that works. Then everything seemed to go to hell. It happened so fast that I had no warning of what was going to happen. I was coming home from school at my usual time. Caleb stayed after school for a club meeting, so we decided we'd see each other tomorrow. When I got home, I was surprised to see not only my parents sitting in the living room but also Caleb and Sabrina's parents. They were sitting across from my parents with somber expressions on their faces. It was so weird because it seemed like they had something serious to discuss with me. "What's going on?" I asked. Let me tell you, I wanted to run out the door. There was no way I wanted to know what they had to say, but eventually, I had to come home. When I sat down next to my parents, they decided to tell me that they knew the truth. Sabrina had come over today and told them she was pregnant. Do you want to know the most shocking part? Apparently, I'm the father. This is a complete and utter lie. I've never slept with anyone, let alone Sabrina. Not that I wanted to make it public, but I've never had sex. How could I have gotten her pregnant if I've never slept with anyone? I tell them it's simply not true. There's no way I could have gotten her pregnant because I've never done it. Plus, I don't like her that way. She's a great girl, but I don't see her that way. The look on their faces told me they didn't believe me. My heart sank because it didn't make sense. How could my parents not believe me? I kept telling them over and over that I didn't do it, and again, it's not something I've done with anyone. It's embarrassing to even say this out loud, but I need to make sure they know I'm not the father. My dad tells me I need to tell the truth. He says they know I got Sabrina pregnant because she wouldn't lie about something like this. I say I knew she had a crush on me, and that could be why she said I did it, but it's not true. There's no way I'm the father of that child. Then her parents start. They tell me they know I took advantage of her and got her pregnant. According to Sabrina, when she told me she was pregnant, I decided I didn't want anything to do with her. They were calling me an irresponsible father, but how could I be that if it's not my child? This is pure madness. I kept telling them she was nothing but a liar. All they have to do is a DNA test and they'll see the truth. My mom yells at me, telling me I need to take responsibility like a good man would, and Sabrina's parents shout that it's the least I could do after taking advantage of their precious daughter. Nothing I say gets through to them. None of the four are listening to me, so I just tell them once again that the child isn't mine. If I ever got a girl pregnant, I wouldn't abandon her or tell her I wouldn't be the father. Having a child at my age wouldn't be something I'd want, but if it happened, I wouldn't run from my responsibilities. Of course, they kept yelling at me, telling me to man up and admit what I did, but I refused. See, I wasn't going to admit to something that simply wasn't true. Eventually, Sabrina's parents left, and I was left with my parents. My mom yelled at me to go to my room. She said she couldn't stand to look at me right now, and that I had shamed her as a son. After that fight, I didn't leave my room. I just stayed there until it was late. When I was sure they weren't around, I went downstairs to get something to eat and then went back to my room. That's how I've been living for the past 3 days. When I leave for school, I hurry out of the house. I try to avoid my parents as much as I can, which isn't difficult because they're avoiding me too. I've been eating all my meals in my room and keeping to myself. It's horrible to be ignored by my parents like this. I don't know why they're doing this to me. You'd think they'd want to support their son no matter what, right? But no, they don't want to support me. They want to go against me for some reason. Guys, if you have any advice on how to handle this, please, I beg you, let me know. I'm at a loss for words and want to talk to my parents, but what if they keep ignoring me? There must be a way to prove I'm telling the truth. If you have any ideas, please leave a comment.